What if the battles you're fighting right now aren't yours to fight at all? What if God has already declared victory, but you're still carrying burdens that were never meant to be yours? Psalm 35 is more than just a passage. It's a spiritual weapon, a cry for justice, and a shield against unseen forces. David, a man after God's own heart, knew what it was like to face relentless attacks, false accusations, and enemies determined to see him fall. But instead of retaliating in his own strength, he did something most people forget. He called upon God to fight for him. And that's where most of us struggle. We live in a world that teaches self-reliance, that tells us to take matters into our own hands. But the Bible reveals a different truth. When we step aside and let God fight our battles, we see victories that human strength could never achieve. Have you ever felt like you're under attack, physically, emotionally, or even spiritually? Maybe things keep going wrong, people misunderstand you, or it feels like unseen forces are working against you. What if Psalm 35 is the answer you've been looking for? This is where everything changes. When you understand how to activate God's divine protection, when you learn to pray the way David did, you step into a new level of faith and authority. But how do you do that? And what exactly does this psalm reveal about God's justice and deliverance? Get ready, because by the end of this, you'll see why Psalm 35 isn't just a prayer. It's a declaration of victory. Psalm 35 isn't just a passage in the Bible, it's a battle cry. David wasn't whispering a polite request. He was calling on God to rise, to fight, to bring down justice like a mighty storm. This is the kind of prayer that shakes the heavens, the kind that reminds us we don't have to fight alone. In life, there are moments when enemies surround us, sometimes in the form of people, sometimes as unseen forces. David understood this, and instead of taking matters into his own hands, he handed them over to the angels of the Lord. Think about those times when you felt wronged, when betrayal cut deep, when injustice burned inside you. The natural instinct is to retaliate, to demand payback. But David shows another way. He steps back and lets God step in. That's what makes this prayer so powerful. It's not just about asking for help. It's about surrendering the battle to the one who never loses. It's about trusting in divine justice rather than human vengeance. And here's the real challenge. Can we do the same? Can we resist the urge to fight with our own strength and instead lift our prayers like David did? Because when we do, something incredible happens. The battle shifts. The forces of heaven take over. The question is, are we willing to let go and let God fight for us? David knew what it felt like to be attacked, not just physically, but through lies, deceit, and betrayal. He wasn't just facing soldiers with swords. He was facing whispers in the dark, enemies who plotted against him without cause. How many times do we find ourselves in the same situation? Accused of things we never did, misunderstood, or surrounded by those who secretly wish for our downfall. In those moments, Psalm 35 becomes more than just words. It becomes a shield. It reminds us that God doesn't just see our battles. He steps into them. False accusations have the power to break a person. They can damage reputations, relationships, even one's own self-worth. But David's response was clear. He didn't waste time trying to prove himself to his enemies. Instead, he turned to prayer, calling on God to be his defender. When we do the same, something shifts. Instead of exhausting ourselves fighting in the natural, we activate something in the spiritual. Angels move at God's command, and justice is no longer just a wish, it's a promise. But here's the real test. Can we trust that God will act in his time? It's easy to demand immediate results, to want our enemies exposed and defeated overnight. Yet, David teaches us that true faith means waiting, believing that divine justice is at work even when we can't see it. So the question remains, are we willing to stand firm, to keep praying, and to let God move in ways we can't yet understand? There's something powerful about speaking out, about bringing hidden struggles into the light. David didn't keep his pain to himself. He poured it out before God, and in doing so, he found strength. The same is true today. When we share our burdens, something shifts. The weight becomes lighter, and suddenly, we realize we're not alone. That's why this space isn't just about listening. It's about engaging. It's about a community of prayer where faith-filled voices rise together like a mighty army. Think about it. How many times have you battled something in silence, thinking no one would understand? But what if the breakthrough you need is waiting in a simple act, typing a comment, asking for prayer, reaching out for support? The Bible says that where two or more gather in his name, He is there. That means every prayer spoken here isn't just words on a screen. It's an invitation for God to move, for angels to be dispatched, for chains to be broken. But here's the challenge. Will you step out? Will you take that leap of faith and share your need for prayer? Or maybe you're in a season of strength. Could it be that someone else is waiting for the encouragement that only you can give? One simple act of faith can change everything. The question is, are you ready to be part of something bigger? Life has a way of throwing storms at us. Unexpected betrayals, financial struggles, battles we never saw coming. But Psalm 35 reminds us of a powerful truth. We are not unprotected. God is not a distant observer. He is a shield, a defender, a mighty warrior standing between us and the forces that seek to destroy us. David understood this. That's why, in his darkest moments, he didn't run to people for security. He ran to God. And when we do the same, something shifts. Fear loses its grip, and faith takes over. Think of a shield in battle. It doesn't just stand there. It actively absorbs attacks. That's what God does for his people. When accusations come, when enemies rise, when uncertainty knocks at the door, he stands firm. The Bible is filled with moments where divine protection turned impossible situations into testimonies. The Red Sea parted, lions' mouths were shut, fire lost its power to burn. This isn't just history. It's a reality for those who trust in him. Angels are assigned to guard his people, and his justice never fails. But trusting in God means surrendering control. It means believing that his timing is perfect, even when answers don't come as quickly as we'd like. Can we truly rest in his protection, knowing he sees the full picture? Can we lay down our weapons, step behind the shield, and trust that his justice will prevail? Because when we do, something incredible happens. Peace replaces worry, and faith takes the lead. Are we ready to live that way? Daniel's story isn't just about survival. It's about trust. Imagine being thrown into a pit of hungry lions, knowing there's no way out unless God intervenes. That's faith under fire. Daniel didn't panic. He didn't beg for his life. He simply trusted. And because of that trust, the impossible happened. Angels shut the mouths of the lions, and what should have been his end became his testimony. How many times do we find ourselves in lions' dens of our own, trapped in circumstances that seem hopeless, surrounded by dangers we can't escape? The key lesson here isn't just that God saved Daniel. It's how he did it. Daniel wasn't spared from being thrown in. He was protected inside the trial. That's where many people struggle. We want to be rescued before we enter the difficulty. But sometimes, God allows us to step in so he can show his power in the middle of it. The Bible is clear. When we walk through fire, we won't be burned. When we pass through deep waters, we won't drown. God doesn't promise a life without challenges, but he does promise victory through them. And here's the bigger picture. Daniel's deliverance didn't just affect him. It changed an entire kingdom. When people saw what God did, they believed. Could it be that your trial isn't just about you? Could it be that your victory will inspire faith in others? The real question is, will you trust him inside the lion's den, knowing that he's already prepared your way out? There's a reason shields exist, because battles are real. Too often, people try to fight life's struggles on their own, thinking they can handle it all. But Psalm 35 reminds us that God never intended for us to face these challenges alone. He offers himself as our defender, our shield, our stronghold in the face of adversity. The question is, are we actually letting him protect us, or are we still trying to fix everything with our own strength? Imagine someone running into battle without armor, thinking sheer willpower is enough. It wouldn't make sense, right? Yet, so many do this spiritually. They carry burdens too heavy to bear, take on fights they were never meant to fight, and then wonder why exhaustion sets in. The Bible makes it clear. God is our protector, and he sends his angels to guard those who trust in him. But for that protection to work, we must step behind the shield. We must surrender, let go, and trust that he knows what he's doing. But surrender doesn't mean passivity. It means action and faith. It means waking up every morning, declaring, God, this battle is yours. It means replacing worry with prayer, frustration with worship, and fear with trust. When we do that, something amazing happens. The weight lifts, strength returns, and we walk in the confidence that no attack can break us. So, here's the challenge. Are we truly letting God fight for us, or are we still holding the sword in our own hands? Joy and peace aren't just emotions, they're decisions. The world teaches that peace comes when problems disappear, but the Bible teaches something different. Real peace comes when we trust. even when the storm is raging. Psalm 35 shows us that David wasn't free from struggles, but he found security in knowing God was in control. That's the secret. When we try to control everything, we get overwhelmed. But when we surrender control to God, peace flows like a river. Think about a child in a car. They don't sit in the back seat worrying about the road. They trust the driver. That's how we should be with God. He sees what's ahead. He knows the dangers, and he's guiding us safely. The problem is, many of us want to grab the wheel. We panic, stress, and try to fix things ourselves, only to end up frustrated. But faith says, God, I don't see the way, but I trust you do. And when we shift our mindset, everything changes. The burden lifts, and we begin to experience the peace he promised. Joy isn't found in a perfect life. It's found in a perfect God. It's waking up each morning knowing that no matter what happens, he is faithful. It's choosing to sing in the storm, to smile in uncertainty, and to trust in the unseen. When we do that, we confuse the enemy. Instead of being defeated, we rise stronger. So, the real question is, are we willing to let go of worry and embrace the peace and joy that God has already prepared for us? Faith isn't meant to be kept. It's meant to be shared. Just like David declared God's power in Psalm 35, we are called to do the same. The world is filled with voices of fear, doubt, and negativity. But we have something greater to offer. The truth of the Bible, the power of prayer, and the assurance that God is always in control. Someone out there needs this message, and you might be the one to bring it to them. The simple act of sharing can change a life. Think about it. How did you first come to know the power of God? Maybe it was through a testimony, a video, or a conversation. Someone, at some point, chose to share their faith, and that made all the difference. Now it's your turn. By spreading messages like this, whether through a comment, a conversation, or even inviting someone to watch, you're becoming part of something bigger. You're helping build a community where faith is strengthened, where battles are won through prayer, and where people find hope when they need it most. But don't just stop at watching. Be part of this journey. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and engage. Every comment, every interaction, every shared testimony strengthens this movement of faith. And who knows, the next person who stumbles upon this video might be standing at a crossroads, needing exactly what you found here. So, will you join in, spread the message, and let more people discover the power of trusting in God? Now that you've discovered the power of Psalm 35, it's time to take action. Are you ready to stop carrying the weight of your battles alone and let God be your defender? Think about the areas in your life where you've been struggling. Could it be that God is calling you to trust him more deeply? The next time you face adversity, remember this prayer and declare it over your life. You don't have to fight in your own strength anymore. God is already on your side, ready to deliver and protect. But it's not just about applying these truths to your own life. It's about sharing them with others. Who do you know that needs to hear this message of hope and victory? Who around you is struggling and could use the encouragement that God will fight their battles too? Share this video, leave a comment, or reach out to someone in need. Your simple act of spreading faith could be the very thing that changes their life. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more messages of hope, faith, and victory. Together, we can build a community of trust in God, where we stand firm in the knowledge that no matter what we face, he will fight for us. Are you ready to step into that kind of faith? It's time to trust, pray, and let God destroy all the evil cast upon you.